Should video games be archived in a national archive? So, in simple terms, an archive is a place where public records or historical documents are kept. That said, video games fit that bill. Now, I am aware that there is an attempt at a video game archive. It's called the UK National Video Game Archive, and there's going to be a link in the description because it's pretty cool. But it's very bare in that there's only console listings and nothing really about video games. It's more just the hardware and how you play the games and shit like that. So my question is, should there be one not only for consoles, but for the games as well and everything else around video games? Like, everyone has played games. It's a global thing. It's a huge part of life now. So should they actually be archived? I mean, there was that huge thing in New York where they had a huge exhibit on, like, the history of video games, and it was awesome. Like, I wish I could have been there to see it, but, you know, I don't live there. But when you come to archives, everyone thinks it's very rigid and old, and it just has stuffy old documents, which is half true. And, like, archives nowadays are very traditional, and they are still strong in some places because there's this old dude called Jenkinson who basically said archives are only for science materials and shit that has absolute integrity and absolute truth, which does not apply nowadays because, you know, the internet, you don't know what the absolute truth is. How do you document that? The more modern archives, they put the public memory and public opinion, like, basically in the first, like, as the first step in anything, because the public funds them, so they want to appeal to the public, so might as well do that in order to get money. So archives nowadays have a lot of public influence, so why not add video games to that if it's a huge thing? And I mean, if not, like, now in my lifetime, video games will be prevalent super hard later on. So, might as well get started, like, lay out the foundation of making a video game archive, because people will want it in the future. And yes, I know it's a tough medium to handle and maintain, because a lot of consoles are outdated, and it's really hard to, like, I don't know, repair them. I haven't tried myself, but I know I would bust up anything if I tried to open it. So what would be the purpose of an archive with video games in it? We could use it to educate and inspire developers and critics and researchers of the future in video game, like, development. How beneficial would it be to have loads of information on games? The good and the bad games. You can learn from everything. Developers can learn and make good games from learning from the bad ones and, I don't know, taking notes from the good ones. There's a ton of inspirational stuff. The information on artwork in the game, music, visuals, lore and mythology references in games are huge, especially in RPGs. Voices, developers, publishers, history of game production. Like, come on, people, there's tons of stuff in video games, and no one really thinks to, like, actually think about that. With all this media, you can inspire people. I know it's hard to express, like, creative shit. Like, creating a game and having a creative mind can be stressful, and it's hard to express. But if you had a place where you could research a bunch of stuff about games and trying to develop it, how awesome would that be for people? There could be facts detailed on video games, like every aspect of it, and these can inspire people and create new ideas and understand things. The ultimate archive experience, in my opinion, would be playable games of all ranges available to people. Like, that would be the most amazing fucking, like, it would be like an arcade archive. That sounds stupid, but I think that sounds cool. So what would your opinion be on creating a video game archive that houses all video games ever made ever? How awesome would that look? Like, you see those pictures on the internet and there's people with, like, tons of games on their shelves. Imagine an entire warehouse full of, and each of them are different games, like, for different consoles, and you can set them in different areas for different consoles. Oh my god. It would be amazing. By the way, I am an archive student, so this is why I've made this. So, what's your opinion? Let me know in the comments, and I will get to them in the next video. Thank you for listening. So, ages ago, there was the voice acting game talk, and these are the answers you guys gave me. Infel says, it's cool to have voice actors doing a whole bunch of different roles, but after a while, when you get used to their voice, it sucks, because all you hear is that voice actor. And yes, Yuri Lowenthal is a good example, because he has a very samey voice, and he does a lot of characters because he's really popular, so you hear him in everything. And yes, he did do Steve in Rogue Galaxy, and that did surprise me too, actually. I was like, oh, it's just a robot. And then I look it up and, oh shit, it's Yuri Lowenthal. That's a good one. If you don't know who it is, it's just like, wow, props to you guys. JD95 says that they can hear Liam O'Brien and Laura Bailey everywhere because, yeah, they have a shit ton of roles. They also mentioned that they associate their voices with the first character they hear them, so yeah, like Laura Bailey there. But then they eventually started hearing them as the person, like, oh, that's Laura Bailey, instead of like, oh, that's Kaine from Nier. It's like, no, we know her name because she's in everything. And I do like playing the whose voice is this game because it is a lot of fun, but it gets a bit boring because it's the same people doing all the stuff. So it's like, oh yeah, of course, yes, no. And on the opposite side, it is cool to recognize voices from like different games, and you're like, hey, so-and-so did this, and they did this voice and this, and you're like, holy shit, I didn't know that. So, I mean, it can be fun, but if the same people are doing it, it's not so fun. Ellery and Devil says that their problem is not association, but breaking the fourth wall and suspension of disbelief. Also, hearing accents done by white actors, doing, I don't know. One of them that comes to mind is Yuri Lowenthal doing an Italian accent, and he had to do a shit ton of coaching just to get it, and it didn't really work out too well. I mean, some people can do it, some people can't. It would be cool to have more variety in voices. And the guy who voiced Kain in Legacy of Kain, I think he does a voice in Dragon Age. He's like this evil guy, like the first Dragon Age. I think that's the only thing I really know him from. And this is really off topic, but probably not going to be a sequel because the Elder God voice actor is unfortunately passed away, and he's like one of the big voices in it, and just, I don't know. I don't think they're ever going to make a sequel. Sorry to tell you. Thank you for all of your comments and views and all that stuff, and I hope to actually do the next episode faster and not 2 months from now. But, you know, it might happen, it might not, I don't know. But thank you for listening, and I will see you in the next video.